Hello everybody! In this video we are going to explore Aerkord starter snapshots from our Randomizer series libraries version 1.2. Since the release of Vesper 1.0, we have made this claim that this kind of library doesn't need presets because of the way of the randomization engine works. And we still believe that. So what's the purpose of these starter snapshots? These are basically not presets. They are starting points for the users to build their own sounds and configurations. Now, with the addition of step effects, Arpeggiator, convolvers, etc., this instrument has become pretty deep. So we thought we should create a bunch of examples that showcase some of the possibilities, some of the things that Vesper, Abstract and Aerkord can do. And also, these are not even all the possible configurations, as I'm sure you will be able to find many other ways of using these libraries. Having said that, let's explore Aerkord starter snapshots. They are all in alphabetical order, not in order of complexity, even though for a moment we jump to the simplest as a start, but then we will go straight from the first one to the last one in the list. So let's begin. I've got here Simple Start. This is the sustained version of it. This patch by no means expects to be taken like one of those choir libraries with legatos and stuff. It's a very evocative pad that has this vocal quality, and it is two singers singing with a certain degree of vibrato, but a lot of passion. We can create other type of sounds out of these sound sources. For example, let's make the attack much longer. So you have this pad, which is very ambient. But also we have the possibility to start from a sound like this and turn it very quickly into something totally different by making it short, thanks to the volume envelope that we have introduced in this 1.2 version. We have also a short sound version of the Simple Start, and we jump through that one now. This is just to show that even though most of the sound sources included in Aerkord derive from very long and sustained sounds of vocals or any type of winds and also bowed instrument, thanks to the volume envelope, we can turn them into short sounds. If we also switch on the Arpeggiator. Okay, let's go back to the first snapshot in the list. And it's Arpeggiator and step sequencer together. As you might have seen it already in other snapshots videos that we made for this series, this is a combination of Arpeggiator, which plays on quarter notes, and Sequencer, which plays 30 seconds notes. This effect that is obtained by the Arpeggiator triggering the phrase of the step sequencer every quarter note. And the fact that we are using a C major scale here in the key manager makes it possible to not hear any strange notes, but all the notes generated, they all belong to the same scale. If I was to use the chromatic scale, for example, okay, let's move on to the next one. This is more or less similar sound to the simple start sustained sound, the one that sounded like a choir, but we tweaked a bit the volume envelope and turned it into a short sound. So now it can be played through the Arpeggiator. Okay, the next snapshot includes an Arpeggiator on the right side of keyboard and a pad on the left side. Then we have the opposite, which is Arpeggiator below the split point. Basically, we can do this because when we take a look at the Arpeggiator page, we have this option which allows us to decide if we want to have the Arpeggiator in full range mode, the full range of the sound that we have loaded now. Or below the split point. The split point is defined by clicking on this button and then decide the split point on the keyboard. Let's pick this C here. And now, what I play below this note, this C here, will be played with the Arpeggiator. And what I play above that note will be without the Arpeggiator. Next snapshot. This patch is making use of the convolver effect. There is one convolver effect per layer, and in this patch we are using both of them. There are different types of convolver effects here. In this patch we are using the analog effect. We have different ones. We can just change. Let's see. And also, since we have the dry knob to kind of 9-10 o'clock, we put it at 0 and see just what the analog effect does. Let's move with these arrows to other ones. So they're very useful if you want to create some kind of weird sounds. And most of the time I would suggest to use them also together with original sound. This patch includes another type of convolver, the reverser. Using the convolver reverser is not the same as reversing a sound. Basically, we sampled reverse reverbs. And in this patch, the dry knob is basically at 0, so we just hear the reverb. If we were to put the dry knob to 50%, you can clearly hear that it is actually a reverb. Let's now actually reverse the sound sources and see the difference. With the mod wheel, we can decide the sample start of each sample. So now it's playing in reverse. Now this is the actual sound. Okay, let's move on. This is a time effect, still from the Convolver module. And you can change its speed by using this knob here, according to the speed of your music. There are many time effects as well, so we can experiment with others. That's a nice combination. Okay, next one. We are again making use of the Convolver module, and this time we are using some ambient convolutions. It helps if, like in this case, the dry sound is mixed in. If the dry sound was totally at 0, the ambient effect would be a little bit overbearing. And another version of the Convolver effect is the color Convolver effect. Let's try other ones. Next one. In this starter snapshot, we basically included almost all the combinations we can have with this instrument. Therefore, we showcase almost all of the Convolver's effects that we have. So this is the Mangler. It is supposed to change dramatically the sound. And if we go for the dry sound, So if you want to kind of achieve a very, very ambient sound, Mangler is one of the best choices, together with the ambient version of the Convolver module. One thing is, so far our key manager was set on the key of C major, but we can put this one to chromatic and play any kind of we want. You can hear in this one that the trace layer is appearing and disappearing. This high note is called your blips. We can also change the pitch of the trace layer. Now it's much lower, but also change the envelope of the pitch. And there are 20 different trace layers to choose from. Crystals at the max. It should indicate that the crystals are used heavily in this patch. Without the crystals, it would sound like this. Now, let's wait that crystals disappear. It should sound like this without them. So you can see the crystals are really contributing to the sound with this kind of background. Let's have a look at what they're doing. If you think that maybe they're playing a little bit too much, we can make them play randomly, so they don't play every note. Or we can make them play below the split point only, so below this F note here. The split point is always indicated by a kind of reddish key. So we have the crystals here below the split point, not above. Or we can do the opposite, make them play above the split point. We could also make the crystal a little bit more in the face by adjusting this knob here, the grain knob. You can actually hear each of the crystals. And we can also make them harmonizing in a random way. Or also change the pitch. And we could also automate the cutoff slider here with high resonance. Okay, let's move on. In this patch, we are featuring the Granular and Space category of sounds. If we take a look at the browser, unlike the other two versions of the Randomizer series, Armstrong and Vesper, we have the Granular category in Aerkord. And we can explore, we have different type of sounds here. I'm just loading the granular sound in layer B. Let's remove a bit of the reverb. And let's solo just. We're just listening to the raw sound source at this moment. This is one of my favorite ones. Of course, you can go to the layer B panel and change a bit the sample start. And you see, reduce that noise which is at the beginning, which I personally like, but it's a matter of preference. Okay, let's move to the next one. This is another version of the granulars. But this time, I think this sound is made of entirely granular sound sources. This one is basically using the random mapping. Each sound source is playing in a random way. They are basically alternating, and it's quite fun when you have a sequence like this running. You can definitely tell that Aerkord has got a much more ambient quality compared to Vesper and Abstract. Like the example I made before, this patch is set up to have the crystals playing randomly. So they're appearing now. In this patch, both sound sources are reversed. You can use the mod wheel again to change the sample start. So you can see layer B is coming quickly when the mod wheel is halfway through, but when the mod wheel is at zero, around zero, we can hear more layer A. This one is making use of a sequencer below the split point and the convolver effect on the left side on layer B. And this is possible because we are in dual mapping mode, so the two sound sources are really separated by the split point. With this one, we have the step effects modifying the filter, the distortion, and the Foreman filter of layer A. And at the same time, we have a sequence going on. You switch off the step effects for a second. That's what's really happening. With the step effects, it becomes more. And what I just did here, I played left and right hand not exactly in sync. So the sequence sounds totally different, more interesting, I guess, as opposed to. Here we have a sequence playing together with a pad, and the sequence is playing full range. The last snapshot for today is twin sequencer. So we have both sequencers playing at the same time. And we have this on the left side and this one on the right side together. Since the step sequencers are totally independent in terms of timing, I can select sequence A and make it play at triplets. And also change the steps number to something like 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, something like that. So And also, if the sound is a bit too blurred, you can make it a little bit more snappy. And that's all for the starts and snapshots of Aerkord. And please watch all the other videos to learn all the features of this series. Thank you for watching. Bye.